Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hitchhiking Ghost podcast. On today's episode, I am going to speak about my favorite Pixar movies. And Pixar, as you probably know, is an incredible company. They have released several amazing films. So, at number 10, I'm sure it's going to shock a few people. But I'm going to stand by it, and that is Up. Most people would have this next to the top, and just so you know, this is my opinion. You can have Up number 1, number 2, or number 3. I'm not going to get mad at you for it. But I think Up just doesn't leave that much of an impact after the first, 15 minutes, after the first scene. Now, those 10 minutes are insanely powerful, but after that, it's just like kind of coasting on how high you got in the first 10 minutes, but then the movie just gets worse and worse and worse, and I don't really like it. It's a great movie, but it really isn't as great as people remember it. And let's talk about number 9, and that is Finding Nemo. Finding Dory does not make this list, surprise surprise, because Finding Dory was not very good to me. I did not care for it that much. It was very, very similar to Finding Nemo. Didn't really care for it. But Finding Nemo, it is an amazing movie that centers around family. And there are just so many characters. I mean, Marlin, the nervous Nelly, Nemo, the adventurer, young, listen to metal tunes in his room all day. Just a complete rebel that Nemo is. Dory, hilarious. Ellen DeGeneres, very funny. Bruce, fish are friends, not food. That is a terrible impression. I'm very sorry for that. There's also Gil, which I had a stuffed animal of Gil. I didn't know that they even made stuffed animals for very minor characters, but they did, and I had Gil. And there are just so many great characters that lead to great moments. Because, like when Gil taught Nemo how to overcome his disability, and Marlin was taught by Dory to let loose a little bit. There's just great lessons all the way around that teaches kids and adults. Also, the first scene was very rough whenever the barracuda eats everything. That was a very emotional scene. And at number 8, I have Toy Story 3. It was a really great film in a very different setting. And I really like the prison escape type of vibe that this had. Like they were trying to escape a daycare center, which is just hilarious to me. Laszlo, very funny character. Laszlo, very cool character. Had a very sad backstory. My goodness. Couldn't imagine that. Still not my favorite Toy Story. This isn't my favorite Toy Story, obviously. But third place is pretty good in that powerhouse franchise. So, yeah. That last moment, whenever the claw saves him, is so tough to watch. So tough. Pixar knows how to tug the heartstrings. Now let's talk about number 7, and that is Ratatouille. I remember watching this movie for the first time, and it was after one of my Pee-wee football games in my mom's van that had a movie theater that came down from the ceiling. It was like a little 6-inch by 6-inch little movie screen. I mean, it was tiny. But I watched it, and it was the game was crappy because it was cold, and I hate the cold. One thing that I hate more than anything in this world is the cold, and we lost. But on the way home, I watched Ratatouille in a warm blanket, and I'm telling you, it was an amazing film. I love food, and I love a good unlikely duo story, like a rat and a man. And they team up to become a great chef and save a restaurant that's dying out because reasons. I just have such fond memories with this movie, and it is a Very welcome member of the top 10. And at number 6, I have Monsters Inc. I actually watched this movie in theaters when I was 3 years old. I also had a VHS of it. And I always thought that Randall was so cool because he was purple, which is my favorite color. And I also thought he was a dinosaur, and I like dinosaurs. So, yeah, it's just a staple of Pixar. Great jokes and a lot of heart. When Sully got to see Boo again at the very end, ooh, that was rough. All these movies are so emotional. They really get me. And let's get into number 5, and that is Coco. I recently watched this movie. I haven't ever watched it in the 3 years that it has been out, and then finally one day I just sat down, watched it. It was just a wonderful movie about family, which really pulls on your heartstrings. I mean, it's one out of the 2 movies on this list that made me shed a tear. Whenever Miguel sings Remember Me to Mama Coco, I can't help it. The tears start going. It's such a great film, great characters, great story, and I love when movies celebrate different cultures. I think it is a great idea. So yeah, Coco makes this list mostly because of just how emotional that moment was and how beautiful this movie is. It truly is a work of art. So let's go into number 4, and that is The Incredibles. Just a perfect superhero movie wrapped into, a movie about family, which are 2, pretty popular genres for me. Great humor and heart. It's just a really lovable movie. It truly is. I think it's one of the most lovable movies that Pixar has ever made. It has a huge audience. People love this movie. Oh my goodness, people love this movie. Amazing characters, great plot. Just a very fun movie. The Incredibles 2 almost made this list, but just missed it. But that is a very solid remake as well. And speaking of remakes, let's talk about Toy Story 2. And that comes into the number 3 slot. The first 3 Toy Stories were pure excellence. The 4th was not as good, but it was still good. I remember recreating the first scene, whenever Buzz, tries to hop between the different platforms with the music playing. Yeah, I used to do that all the time in yards. Sometimes they have the little paths that you step on so that you don't step on the grass. And that's what I would do. I would always make the music. But I know he falls. But yeah, it's such a great film. Really is. And I love the toy barn scene. It's awesome. I wish they would have made that Toy Story Land. That would be so cool. Just the toy barn. Alright, and then at number 2 I have Toy Story, the regular one. And this is the one that started it all. I remember having so many of these action figures. I remember for my first few haircuts, my barber would give me a Woody doll to hold so I wouldn't get scared. Great jokes, great movie with a ton of heart. Fun fact, the movie was supposed to make Woody into a kind of unlovable character, but then, they changed that, and he's awesome. I love him. Pizza Planet is awesome too, and I am sad that Pizza Rizzo is the lame excuse that replaced Pizza Planet, because Pizza Planet was awesome. Pizza wasn't good, but the games were. It's like a nice little Chuck E. Cheese. Alright, and then at the number 1 spot, my favorite Pixar movie of all time. And that is Inside Out. This movie was literal perfection to me. This movie and Coco were the only 2 movies that made me cry. And the emotion involved in these scenes were, oh my goodness, there's so many emotional scenes in this movie. And it's about growing up, and it's about family, and they're great jokes. There's a great story, and it is just a perfect movie. Also, Phyllis from The Office is in there as Sadness, and that is awesome to me. Yeah, this movie just hits really, really close to home in certain scenes. Like whenever they said that Sadness has to be part of the core memories because it brings the joy. It makes the joy seem so much better whenever you're sad. Yeah, it's just a perfect movie. I loved it so much. And that will do it. I appreciate everyone for listening, and let's just count it down real quick. At number 1, we have Inside Out, Toy Story, Toy Story 2, The Incredibles, Coco, Monsters Inc., Ratatouille, Toy Story 3, Finding Nemo, and I Am Sorry, but Up is at the 10th position. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope everyone has a wonderful week. Goodbye.